My TED Talk is on pursuing your ideas. Your brain is maybe more powerful than you realize. The average person has over 6,000 thoughts per day, and it only takes one to change the world. As corny as this sounds, I believe this is true. Take Earl Dixon, for example. Earl Dixon, many of y'all may not know him, but you do know his invention, the Band-Aid. Earl Dixon's wife would be in the kitchen and get cuts and burns often, leaving him to prepare little strips of surgical tape and a thin sheet of gauze. What separates Earl Dixon from the millions of others that may have done this before him is that he realized that this was a universal solution to a problem. In 1921, he made his idea a reality, and now over 100 billion Band-Aids have been sold. Many people think of inventors as these incredibly smart and creative individuals, but often they're ordinary people like you and me, who identified a problem and pursued their solution. Your thoughts are what separates you from everyone else in the world and the person sitting next to you. And Albert Einstein once said, creativity is seeing what others see and thinking what no one else has ever thought. So, if your thoughts are the key to creativity, why do schools spend little to no time teaching students how to pursue their thoughts and their ideas? I think this is hard because creativity is hard to quantify into a grade. Many of y'all can relate to this photo. Being bored in class or unmotivated because you're sure that what you're learning in class you'll never use once you leave school. And millions of others are learning the exact same things as you. So what's going to separate you from the rest of the world? It's not what you know, but how you use the information that you're being taught. The incentive schools have created is to memorize information and regurgitate it back onto a test. But I think more emphasis should be put on how to use the information in new ways. The information being taught should inspire students and enable them to pursue their ideas. This would provide purpose to school, which will increase the motivation students have to pay attention and do the work. At Baylor, there are a few electives that I feel embody this approach to education. Engineering is one of them. In the first semester of engineering, we are taught the general concepts that many may use to pursue their ideas, giving students kind of a tool set to work with. The second semester is when you kind of think back to all those thoughts that you've had, but you've dismissed because you're like, that will never work, or I don't have the time to do it. You think back, you find one that you think is the most promising, and you pursue that idea. This has taught me how to take my ideas and turn them into reality. If there's a kid in high school that is positive he wants to be a mechanic, and a girl that's positive she wants to be a doctor, they still have to learn the same things. And it may be years before one receives mechanical experience or one receives medical experience to see if this is even what they would like to pursue later on in life. I set out to find a solution to this. One of the main limiting factors to personalized education that I found was hands-on learning. For the kid, for example, the kid that wants to be a mechanic, it is infeasible for a school to bring in an engine that he can play around with and see how each individual part works and gain a better understanding of how it works. But I've used VR to imitate these hands-on experiences. I use an engine as an example. I've imported this engine, a model of an engine, so the student can see realistically what an engine looks like in 3D, as if they were there. And on top of that, they can take the engine and explode it into each individual part. So the student can see what makes up an engine, what are the parts, and how do they fit together. They can expand it and put it back together. This creates a virtual reality version of hands-on learning that allows personalized education. Some of the big takeaways from this TED Talk are pay attention to your thoughts. You have 6,000 per day. You never know which one is going to leave an imprint on the world. You never know which one is going to make a huge impact. So pay attention, think about your thoughts, and think about what they could do. The second thing is use the things you learn in school to inspire you. Worry less about memorizing information and think about more what are the applications of this information that you're learning? What could this be used for? How could this be used in new ways? Third thing is turn your ideas into reality. No matter how small your idea, turn it into reality. It trains your brain on how to take your ideas from a concept into reality. Intelligence isn't defined by knowledge, but how you use that knowledge. So if you can recite facts and recite all this information, it doesn't matter unless you can use that information to do something. Unless you can use that information to do new things, you won't leave an imprint on the world. my TED Talk. And here are my citations.